observance of everybody's time. We'll start, and I'm sure people will trickle in as they come, but I just want to welcome everybody to this session of Love Data Week. This is from A to Z, all the ingredients to fall in love with data cookbook. Arielle's going to answer, she's going to go through her presentation and she's going to answer questions at the end. But if you have anything as things come up and you don't want to forget it, feel free to throw it in the chat. I'll kind of monitor it at the end, or else you could always ask it live at the end. She's going to leave a few minutes for questions. And there'll be a questionnaire that comes out. Please answer it. And that's it. Enjoy. I'm going to turn it over to Arielle.
All right, so from A to Z, all the ingredients to fall in love with Data Cookbook. So my name is Arielle Markiewicz, Business Analyst for Data Governance, and visit us at stonybrook.edu/data governance. So what is a data asset? We start here with this question because in order to later on talk about data definitions and data cookbook, we need a bit of background, such as knowing where data comes from and where it's stored. So a data asset, based on the policy on data and data access, are information-based resources of significant scope comprised of university data. They include repositories of university data, systems housing university data, and services that host university data. A question we always get is, what is a data asset versus general applications? Applications are like Adobe Acrobat, Photoshop, and Zoom, and compared to a data asset that actually houses university data, such as PeopleSoft, Taleo, and Brightspace, and many more. We have on record at least about 140, but typically there's around 50 to 100 other data assets that we may not even know about. So with data assets, there are roles and responsibilities. And so at the lowest level are data users. These are almost all employees, people who, it could be anywhere from a database architect, engineer, an analyst, to even someone who's trying to create a flyer and just wants a stat such as how many students have been enrolled in a semester. Then there's data custodians. So it could be someone who is looking for access to PeopleSoft in their day-to-day job. Let's say they're an analyst or work with HR. And so they'll go to a data custodian and they will request access, and the data custodian can either grant it or not grant it based on rules that have actually been established by a data steward. A data steward creates access rules and manages it. Data custodians and data stewards can be the same person. With smaller systems, they typically are even, but in bigger and larger data assets, there can be multiple data custodians, and there can be data stewards that pertain to each area, such as PeopleSoft for students versus HR and finance. And then at the top are data trustees, VP and AVP level, and these are those who have the most responsibility and are at the highest. They're typically looking at all of the data access rules and policies pertaining to their system, and they designate rules to each of the stewards, custodians, and users. So the Data Governance Council was created to oversee university data and data assets, how data was being used, and ways to mitigate risk. These are some of the policies that Stony Brook's Data Governance Council has created or been a big part of. And certain policies were established to provide better management of reporting on potential risk, such as the sensitive information classification policy, which requires data in data assets fields, and also the system overall to be classified on what level of risk it is. If it's at its lowest, such as an email, versus at the highest, such as a social security number. And so a quick video.
I don't think we could hear it, Arielle.
Oh, we can't hear it?
I can't hear it. Can anyone else? No.
It's not being played. Okay.
Try it again.
It may be in your sharing settings area that you have to allow it to share your computer audio.
Okay.
Always a technical
audio.
difficulty.
Select a speaker.
Try it under your screen share. I think when you share your screen, there's a checkbox for also share my computer audio.
Share. Got it. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay.
Ever looked at a data field and wondered what it actually means? Let's dive in. When you see some data, do you know exactly what you're looking at? It's a real challenge. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll cover the big challenge and the tool that solves it. First up, let's talk about the university's data assets. What are they exactly? Basically, these are the core information resources the university relies on. Super important stuff. And there are so many ways to access this data. From dashboards to PeopleSoft, it gets complex. And that complexity leads to a huge challenge, making sure we all share the same understanding. Because if we all interpret things differently, the results get inconsistent fast. So what's the fix? It all comes down to data definitions. This is how we build that shared vocabulary. Think of them as a common language. They just make sure we're all on the same page. And to manage all these definitions, Stony Brook uses a really cool tool, the Data Cookbook. And here's what it looks like. It's a central spot to search for all those data definitions. So what's actually inside a definition? Let's break down the anatomy of one. Okay, looking at a single term, you can see just how much detail you get. First off, you get a functional definition. It's just a plain language explanation of what it means. There's also a section for synonyms, which helps you track different names for the same thing. It even shows you allowable values, so you know exactly what kind of data to expect in that field. And for the technical users, you've got key details like the source system and database info. So, how can you start using this? Let's talk about how to get access. Access is really straightforward. You can find the link right on the data governance website. You can also just go straight to this URL and log in with your NunID. And that data governance site is your main hub for policies and other great resources too. So now that you know it exists, what data will you finally be able to understand better? Ever looked at a data field?
Okay, so hopefully the video played. But just to restate an important point from the video, the main point, I think that's the best takeaway, is that different interpretations leads to inconsistency and confusion. So data definitions overall are designed to promote communication. They document the existence, meaning, and use of data elements. And on the data governance website, there is data dictionary standards. And for every single data asset, part of it is also, we now require federal guidelines, SUNY guidelines. We're collecting data glossaries, which for each data asset, it's at the very basic level is a list of all of the fields that the system is storing. So a quick look at how Data Cookbook looks, at least the definitions do, is on the right. But Data Cookbook itself is a metadata management tool, provides a digital repository for data definitions and other metadata that we will see in just a minute, can be integrated with existing reporting and analytics such as Tableau. And it's very simple. Any employee who has, of course, a NetID can log in. And to do so, you can go to this URL, or also I will also show you through Data Governance's website. So on Stony Brook's Data Governance website, on the Data Resources tab, and then Data Cookbook, or just straight to Data Cookbook from the tab. And then once you log in, it'll take you to the homepage for Data Cookbook. So for homepage, it just shows you some basic stats for what this data asset known as Data Cookbook has. So it stores 765 definitions, 88 specifications. Specs are another term for reports. And then collections, a little bit of a higher level grouping for reports, and reference data, which I'll show now. So the best place to search for a term, these are terms that we would consider exportable into an Excel is an easy way to visualize this. The column names that you have when you're exporting from your database or system in general that's holding information that you're using to store. So if you're able to export to an Excel file, what is a column name you would have? So an easy one that has a lot of information on it is academic career. A quick thing is that academic career, it pops up first, but also these are all potentially instances where either academic or career separately or together are mentioned. And if you keep scrolling down through all of these instances, once you get through to this dark black line separating, now where it shows Lone Star College System, the University of Texas Arlington, and so on. These are outside of Stony Brook University's definitions, but you can actually go and see them as well. So this is just to show a quick look at us being able to go and see Santa Clara University's definition. And somewhere here mentions academic career, maybe because of this word academic here and career over here. But let's look at academic career. I find opening into a new tab for some reason much quicker to get to the definition page. But on this definition page, we have a functional definition. This is this part. So defines what this field means. And then we have here synonyms. This is entered manually. This is all manual. But these synonyms are entered manually, and so student career has been entered as a synonym for academic career. They're used interchangeably. And we have also that academic career has been tagged to student records as a functional area. There are about 12 functional areas. There are certain groupings such as student records and student accounts and admissions and registrations. They could be grouped under a broader category called academics, but there's also HR, payroll, advancement. So there's different areas that these definitions can get tagged to. And then quality attributes shows the actual distinct values for the field. In this case, academic career. So we have the academic career code and then the description. And then this is pulled in as well through, over here it shows data system. So it's been said that this is from PeopleSoft Campus Solutions, and this is being created, this partial area, quality attributes and technical definitions, is brought in from Kim Berlin's team. So they add over here the SQL code, or how they're pulling this from PeopleSoft, and acad underscore career from the table name. This is what they're stating as the code column and how they're pulling it. And this is the reference data essentially in total for this field. There can be multiple technical definitions. There's also a data warehouse. So there can be multiple areas where they use the same field, but it either is stored in multiple systems or they get pushed through. And then related specifications over here is actually if you were going to build potentially a report or a Tableau dashboard, and you would like to link or tag every single definition or field, and you would like to provide all the definitions with the report, you can do it through this, through Data Cookbook's spec option. And related definitions is every single definition that actually tags academic career in its definition. And that means it tags it in this portion. So the example here would be that academic career has a tag on to term, and you can either hover or you can also click on it. In this case, I'm going to just right click and open, and it takes you to term. And term then has its own definition page. But then you can see here in related definitions that academic career has mentioned term in its definition. And so you can move through Data Cookbook and you can move through either different links where there are different mentions or different tags to see as a whole how different fields are related to each other. And so from term, I can actually go through any of these. You can say view all, and you will see all of the mentions of Tableau dashboards or reports, such as SBU reporting, that have term tagged into this report. So enrollment comparatives, it's been canceled, likely means that this Tableau dashboard was deleted, but I can still look at the definitions that were tagged. So in data items, This is where you would find all of the definitions that have been tagged. They're tagged manually. There's no automated process for this, but you can still later on pull this into a Tableau notes page and have it be, it will pull in actually with the term and the field name and the field definition. And then another quick thing to see is if you wanted to just see definitions as a whole, you can look through here, browse definitions tab, browse definitions, and click all. You can also search by different filters. And this can give you just a quick glance at the field definitions. If you'd also like to view it this way. And data systems can also be added. So we have PeopleSoft, Data Warehouse, and SB reporting are the three main ones that I would deal with, but we can always add more. And I think that's about it for the demo. So, questions?
I don't see any in chat yet, but if anybody wants to just like raise your hand or speak out, you can. Also want to note that there's right now 765 definitions, but we're building on them all the time. If you ever go in there and there's something that you think should be defined that isn't defined yet, just shoot us an email. We're always looking for new things to define. The idea is to get everything defined, but that takes time. So definitely let us know. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll jump in, and I want to say thank you from, a perspective of folks who use the data all the time. This is a massive undertaking that you guys have done, and it's really, really helpful. For the folks on the call who may consider going through this or with their own definitions or data they may manage on campus, or I know you've worked with some different areas to do this. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what you've heard in terms of users benefit from going through their definitions and what can be learned from going through them?
I would say you can see a lot of either historical errors. I think there's a lot of changes that people have done in certain blocks, like 3 to 5 years, perhaps, and you can see that fields change over time, and perhaps it wasn't recorded. So it either ends up being a nice cleaning up process or recording process of old historical ways of processing data that gets lost. And then also it could look unclean or bad data, but it's actually just a little bit more of a change in process. So the main benefit is you're requiring yourself and everyone to become more consistent in either how they're recording data or talking about data.
Right.
Awesome.
And the example, it always helps to be speaking the same language. Braden's favorite one is FTE. Like when you say FTE, what are you talking about? You're talking about student FTE, you're talking about employee FTE, So when you have these definitions, it's a good way to say, this is what we're exactly talking about. And if you're talking about something different, it might just be like a take on that, but this is like the common definition. So it's a good way to kind of set that like baseline definition for everybody so that everybody's talking the same language.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question. Thank you for the presentation, Arielle. It was really informative. I was aware of the data cookbook, but thank you for showing it. Thank you for the demo. So I was curious about how often are the definitions reviewed and updated, or is it just whenever someone raises a, question on a certain definition and you guys will go in and review it, or someone is constantly like monitoring, or every 2 years or so, like you guys will review everything and see if everything is still relevant or accurate?
I would say because it's been largely populated only in the last 2 years, there isn't a huge review process.
Right. We're still like in the build process. That's kind of like we're still trying to build up and get as much as we can. I have a feeling when PeopleSoft switches over, though, the HR system, that's when like a big reviews will come, or obviously if somebody sees something. But we're always trying to get the functional people involved so that they can kind of have a good hand on this is what their data means. So if you see stuff you work with, definitely let us know. We're always looking for more stuff, but I think that down the road that definitely will come into play, that we'll have to start reviewing them yearly, but we're still trying to build up as much as we can right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Did everybody think they got a good view of Data Cookbook? I don't know if anybody tried to go in, but you can even Google Data Cookbook SBU, and it actually is the first link. So it's not hard to find. I think just getting the word out there that it even exists. I'm not sure how many people on campus know that we even have this. And then I think the more people that are in there looking at it and seeing them, the better it will become. So then, the more eyes on it, the more definitions we'll get, the more people that will be going to have their hands in it. So we're always looking for feedback from other areas and spread the word, let people know this is something that they have that they could use. And any advice you have for us, we're happy to take.
I would also just add, who's going to say something? Oh, okay, Sean.
I was just clapping, but Andrea just dropped in the chat. They're working on something for Handshake, but are changing their whole analytics reporting section. So.
Oh, that'd be great. Yep. When you're ready, Andrea, let us know.
Yeah, I emailed Arielle, so sorry for the delay. But when I asked for something from them, one, they didn't have anything, which surprised me. And two, they said, I asked if they could create something, and they said, we're about to change the whole system to a newer AI type interface. So they asked me to hold off a little bit, but it's on the list.
Oh, good. Good. And Andy said that because Andy's area is the one that does the technical part that shows the list of values that gets updated weekly. So it actually is the actual list from the table that gets put into the report. It kind of pulls from the database. So it's like an allowable, like the values that are already in there. So that's helpful too. And if you do any work with tables or just want to know where things are, sometimes it helps to know where the source is. Then you could kind of figure out what really needs to be cleaned up. So then, the field names aren't always what you see on the reports. So that's always helpful too, a good way to use it. We're almost at time, so I think we only had a half an hour, right? But we appreciate everybody joining us today. Hope everybody uses it and give us some feedback. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day and take the survey.